everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're starting the first of a series of 5 seminars to help advocates do their advocacy. We'll start with a little movie that we have, and then after that, Skip Murray and Liana Hedspeth are going to join me, and we're going to be taking questions and having a discussion about the art of self-care. So once again, thank you for joining us, and here we go. What we do as advocates is hard on the mind, heart, and body. As advocates, we need tools to counter burnout and foster resilience among the ranks of volunteers to do the work to enable millions of smokers to have the choice and options they need to move away from the thing that will kill them to the thing that saved us from certain death. In this series, we are going to cover a range of topics, as requested by the advocates themselves, to provide them the information and support they need to keep calm and carry on. In this episode, we are covering the practice of self-care. The struggle with leaving work at the office, especially when the office is your dining room table or the spare bedroom, is real. You have to take time out to decompress, to reconnect with your life and who you are outside of advocacy. Rest, reconnect, and re-energize. One of the ways to not burn out is to approach your advocacy in a way that you don't go there in the first place. Play to your strengths, but be aware of your weaknesses. Take what you love to do and are good at and frame your work around that. If you are an amazing writer or storyteller, use that skill to promote the message that you want to convey. If you're a people person and you enjoy engaging in schmoozing, then be the one to trudge the streets to tell people the good news. If you are an introvert but love computers, create libraries and resources for other advocates to be able to access information on research, science, and policy. Find the resource person who can assist you in the skills that you do not feel strong in. Talk to each other. We are a community, and the community supports each member for the benefit of the whole. We all have different skills, and what may have worked for one can be adjusted to work for you. Sometimes we have to lose the battle to win the war. And what seems like a loss in the beginning may just be a win down the road. In summary, we have to step out of ourselves to see the bigger picture. Just remember to step off of the crazy train once in a while. Have a feed, a drink of water, get some fresh air, and feel the warmth of the sun on your face. Also, don't forget sunscreen. Hey, we're back and everybody's here. Hi, Liana. Hi,
Hello.
Skip.
Hello.
Hey, team. See, everybody's there. Hi, Janine. Hi, Tom. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Megan. Hi, Jax. Hi, Paul. Wow, we've got a crowd. Hi, Jeff. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. Let's pick a topic. Let's go. Skip?
I have a daily list that I do to make sure that I take care of myself. That list consists of things that are important to me outside of advocacy, that bring me joy and help me find a calm, relaxed place. I find if I don't recharge my batteries every day, that I'm real high risk for burnout.
Yeah, fair enough. Liana, what do you do?
On a regular basis, I drink herbal tea in the morning. Things that I know don't just taste good, but are good for my body, whatever particular needs that I have, And I take supplements, and the rest of the day I drink water, stay off soda, um, keep the uh, alcoholic beverages down to maybe once a week, if that. Um, and just make sure if I'm stuck at the desk too long to remember to like get up and move around, because my other job is all standing and then you're sitting here. And then lately I've also been going to a back therapist to help correct my back. It's kind of a combination between physical therapy and chiropractic and exercise, and some shots and muscles, and it's really helping, really helping.
Yeah. No, that's good. The water thing's important. We must talk about the water thing.
Yes.
Yes, the water thing is important. We we all have spoken about this. One of the things that a lot of us vapors forget to do is drink water, especially new vapors. If you're dehydrated, that is not good not only for your body but also for your mental state. So, Liana, I'm going to hand this one to you. Please tell us what you think on that.
Okay, new vapors. As a new vapor, when you first start, and we're latching onto this vape, it's a new thing, and we get thirsty, and sometimes our body's trying to tell you that you're thirsty, and instead you'll eat or you'll vape. And then you'll get vapor's tongue, and then you think it's the vape, you think it's that, and actually it's just solid dehydration. And then it'll take like a week or two for the top layer of your tongue, which should be pink, not
Thank
like
you for
solid
sharing.
white. Okay. If it turns solid white, that means the top layer of the cells of your tongue have actually died. They need to be sloughed off, and it'll take several days. You can't taste anything. And one of the quickest ways to get over something like that is to stay hydrated. So, if I'm groggy and sleepy, I don't reach for more caffeine. It is hydration. Your body just needs more water. Plus, I live in the desert, but it's easy to forget these things when you're vaping, because you just want to vape, and the VG, PG will actually dehydrate you, and so will more caffeine. So usually, if you just stay hydrated, you notice your energy levels will come up, your skin will improve, your mouth stays healthy, and your taste buds, or your taste and everything is better. Your senses, your vape is better. Life is just better. Your brain works better. So that's pretty
Life is
much
better
it.
with water. I mean, we are 80% water, I think, or 70 or 80% water. So,
It was
yeah,
like 86 or 68. I don't remember. One of those numbers.
crazy thing.
Google it.
We've got, yeah, Google it. Yeah, Google it, people. Paul's saying he's gone back to woodworking. Oh, Bruni, that's interesting. Social justice warrior, or better put, as an opinionated keyboard warrior. I mean, mentally, physically, that covers the physical thing. But what about over opinionated? Stop it, Bruni. What about mental? I mean, Skip has her list. What do you do? I mean, do you meditate? Do you do anything physical for yourself, Liana?
Okay. Spiritually speaking, I pray every morning, a lot through the day, and a lot at night. And for my mental, I'm trying to connect so I can like interact with people.
Yeah, no,
My
cool.
mental state, when I get really, really bad, I go for a ride on my bike, and I hope I don't lose it. I hope I don't have to like sell my bike. When I thought about it the other day, I actually went into a full panic attack.
Yeah,
It's not like
no,
I
I
ride it
understand.
all the time. Sometimes it's too hot, might have to ride at night, but it is the biggest stress reliever. And my partner is 8,000 miles away, and we've been separated almost, I don't know, it's been 2.5 years. So that is my stress relief. That's pretty much it. Ride a bike,
Yeah.
sometimes take a walk, call my
Hmm.
best friend,
Yeah,
talk to
I do.
God.
Yeah, I do beachy walks. We try to go to the beach once a week. We've been failing horribly at that, I have to admit. I do what Jax does. I also color in my mandala coloring books. It's like mindless, but it's not. And one of the things I was talking to Skip about was the yoga thing. The therapist telling me, to get out of my head to connect to my body. And it's interesting because I do yin, and yin is not like hardcore, hatha yoga. It's more stretching, and it's more just being
Hmm.
aware of your body and things like that. And what I found is when I do that, I actually get wired. It's like I've had like a big gulp full of like pure jolt soda. Which is crazy. But yeah, it's that connection, connecting myself back to my pieces, and then, also cooking. When I get a chance to sew, play with my plants, you know, I, I fail at it sometimes. I'm going to be completely honest. Sometimes I get so overwhelmed and I just get into this mode and I'm just going and going and going and going. And then my body's just like, stop. And then you don't see me for 2 days. And that's pretty much because I'm sleeping. I'm trying to find that balance. I have days where it's really good, and then I have, days when I'm just like, oh, what the hell have I done? I've just worked 16 hours. So I think that's something we all struggle with, is that balance, to know when to just say, no, I'm done. I'm going to go do this now. And I know that there are a lot of advocates that their relationships have blown up because of it. And not just in what we do, but in any kind of advocacy, drug harm, or, even domestic violence, things like that. You get so wrapped up in what you're doing that you forget about yourself. And that's kind of what we're here for, is to kind of, let's talk about how we can prevent that from happening, because if we're not at our best, we're not giving our best. But we also have to remember to give our best to ourselves and our families as well. Skip.
And I think that's a big issue, especially for us as women, because society teaches us to take care of everybody else,
Mhm.
be it our significant others, our children, our coworkers, our friends. We're always caretaking. And it just feels like sometimes there's not enough hours in the day to take care of ourselves. And it can be really easy to feel guilty if you take some me time.
Yeah.
And what I have found, as a wife and as a mom and as an advocate, is if I take a little bit of time every day to take care of myself, so my head's in a good place, I'm in a better place to give what I want to give to other people. So I think
Yeah.
that's really, really important, to take that me time and not feel guilty for it.
Yeah, and that's very, very true, especially, as a mom or a wife, or, just even if you're, taking care of your parents, because a lot of people in our age group are taking care of their parents. It's just constant, Ah! One of the things that I do, and most people know this, and if they don't know, they're going to find out, is from about 1 to 3 every afternoon, I take a nana nap.
All right.
Yes, a
I,
siesta is a good thing. Sometimes I eat, I didn't eat all day, and except for a little snack, and you eat a big meal, and you're sitting here, and then I'll tell Paul, I'm like, Paul, I just gotta take a nap. Like, call me in an hour, and you do what your body tells you to do, because if you don't follow those little leads, you pay for it later. Just
yeah,
don't sleep a long time. Set an alarm. If you have that luxury, like, by all means take it. Just because I don't have like kids and a partner, I have the cat, and I do have orchids, by the way. That's another stress relief. I'm gonna show this off. Hang on.
yeah, let me see the orchids. I have orchids too.
Okay, so this is the one that's blooming right now. This one's name is Wisdom, which I need lots of.
Oh, it's pretty.
Beautiful.
And this is like one of my little joys. I had to give up my outdoor trees, and I never cried so hard over like throwing plants out, but they're not gonna fruit. I tried
Mm,
raising um what are those? These lemon trees from seed, and I found out if they're not grafted, Meyer lemons,
yeah,
they won't ever fruit.
yeah,
So I
Nope.
was wasting water and
no.
resources, and I just had to like let go. It was really hard. I was really attached.
You weren't wasting resources. It brought you joy trying to bring something to life. So I mean, even if it never fruited, it was still,
It
it
produced
made you
oxygen.
happy. Exactly.
It did produce
So
oxygen, but
just, I mean, that's another thing that we do, which is really bad, is we discount what we're doing. Um, and
guilty.
guilty. It's never enough,
Guilty.
or it's not good enough, or and we got to stop that, because I think I said this to Skip a couple of weeks ago. I said, when you get beaten down and you're like, oh crap, and I've lost people. I had an ex-boyfriend from high school, the guy who's in that prom picture on my Facebook profile, the tall guy. We just lost Liana. He died from COPD at age 53, and
Oh,
that still haunts me, because about 2 years before, he and I reconnected again, and I was talking to him, and I was just getting him to the point where he was switching completely off of cigarettes to vape, and then he died. And that haunts me, and that's why, with Skip, with what you've been going through, I mean, I can completely relate. But I think about it, and the one I lost, but then I think, well, the people that I've helped. You can't help everybody. So it's one of these things that, you have to remind yourself, every person that you've helped, that's one less person that's going to die a pretty painful death. And you've got to remind yourself of that. So especially when you feel like, oh, it's too much, or, I'm not getting anywhere, and oh my God, there's so much bullshit coming at us and we're never going to get anywhere. It's the little things. It's those baby steps that you've got to remind ourselves about. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. Um, it's really easy when a loved one passes away from smoking to take it personal.
Yeah.
Um, that's a personal loss. And my husband and I just experienced one of those the end of February. Um, when my husband started smoking when he was a teen, he started smoking with his best friend Jim, and Jim had lung cancer right when the Valley crisis hit in the United States. And he beat the lung cancer, and his doctor told him to quit smoking. And he made it 2 days and went back to smoking. And we tried to talk him into vaping, and he wouldn't. And the
Yeah.
end of February, he was sitting on the couch complaining about the weather to his wife, cup of coffee in one hand and a cigarette in the other, and had a massive heart attack and dropped dead right then and there. And I took it really hard. He was a great guy, a really good friend, my husband's best friend for 50 years, you know.
Mhm.
I took it personal and I got very, very angry. And thanks to a lot of you, y'all reminded me you can't force people to stop smoking.
Nope.
And all you can do is share what you know and share your story. And we really do need to remember that our efforts have helped millions of people all over the world.
Yeah.
Um, and it's too easy to let our passion just drag us into this, and then it's a 24/7 thing. You know, some days I go home and I'm all fired up about some new law that we're fighting somewhere, and my poor husband's eyes just glaze over because it's vaping, 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 vaping.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like I need to learn to it's like your job. Punch out, go home and
Yeah.
live your life. The battle will be there in the morning when you go back to it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget to do that. And then we're not just hurting ourselves, we're hurting our family and our friends because we
Mhm.
don't have that relationship. That's what a normal relationship is, which is the weather and politics and what grades the kids got in school and how is work going, and you know,
Yeah.
it's hard to turn it off, and we need to learn to turn it off.
Yeah. I mean, it's taken me, let's see, I've been doing this 7 years. It took me 5.5 years to finally give myself the weekends off. I mean, even though I'm sitting here right now, but, by me, what I mean by that is, to walk out of my office unless there's a meeting at 6 p.m. and do what I need to do. And then unless there's something, not scheduling, I should say, not scheduling my weekends. I'm in a weird position because of where I live and the people that I work with. I'm jumping all these different time zones. So I kind of have to be very aware of that. I mean, there are days when I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I got a meeting with somebody in Europe. And then there are days that I'm up at 11 o'clock at night because I've got a meeting with somebody in Asia, and I have to kind of adjust that and kind of make that fit my life and not make my life fit that, and it's hard, but I do it. I'm lucky in a way because my partner is a vapor. And yeah, he growls me a lot, and rightly so. I mean, not all the time, but some of the time. And he's hearing me say this, so now I'm never going to hear the end of it. But let it go. It's gotta let it go. But it's hard because when you're coming from a place of passion and you're coming from a place of, like I said, in the Inco webinar, when you're coming from a place of your motivation is because you've been hurt or you've lost somebody, you want to save everybody, but the person you've got to save is yourself. And you can't exist without these other people. You need to have those connections to all those other people in order to be a full whole person. You know? So
I
Bruni,
agree.
Bruni, it's hard to turn off when the ants keep spreading propaganda. Yes, it is. And the thing is, it's bullshit. I'm swearing again. I'm going to get in so much trouble with Patrick. You're swearing again. You have to understand that bovine effluent.
I love that.
But look, I think about it. I don't know how long all of you have been involved in this, but I mean, I think about back in, oh my God, 2012, 10 years ago, and looking now, and I see how far we've come. And I also see that, they have gotten more aggro with us and they've gotten nastier with us. And like I've said before, I think that's their fear showing. They know that
I
they're losing a
agree.
battle. Tell me, Skip, tell me your thoughts on that.
I agree completely. I think it's important um, not to take the losses that we do experience, either with regulations or people who suffer the consequences of smoking, not to take them personal. It. I know when I got in trouble with my mental health, I got to a point where there was this tape playing in my head telling me I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I'm not effective, my voice doesn't matter. Um, I've just started trying to practice, oh, what is it called? Meta. It's a kind of meditation where you actually tell yourself, I'm a good person, I'm
Hmm.
kind, I'm effective, um, change that tape playing in your head so that you can get up and do the same thing day after day after day. And I do believe that tobacco harm reduction products will survive, but I think we've got a very tough battle the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that in the regional meeting they were talking about, and we had the guys from Latin America in there, and Jeff was in that meeting. Bloomberg's already gotten himself into Panama, and he's already pushing,
Yep.
because that's where the COP 10 is going to be. So it's not going to go away. Absolutely not. And it's going to get worse. And the worse it gets, the thing I think we need to remind ourselves is the worse it gets, the more scared they are. So, and that's one of the things why I keep saying to everybody, take the high road. It's so easy to react. Somebody
Oh, I
calls you something,
agree.
but you've got to take the high road because I represent you, Skip, and you, Liana, and you guys out there. As an advocate, I feel I represent all of you. So therefore, what I do is going to impact on you, and it's very easy to react, reacting and responding, like in the movie. React or versus respond. Some things don't deserve a response. No, nothing deserves a reaction. I hope that makes sense. Liana, what do you think? You're muted, hon. We can't hear you.
Only if you're about to physically harm me. I mean, but with the ADHD, I have a problem with impulses and lack of like filter and a checkpoint and can suddenly like act on something or respond. And I don't have your composure, Nancy, but that's why it makes you really, really good at what you do. And I appreciate what you do. But yeah, I don't. Something that helps me, and I wanted to mention it, is have someone that you can bounce ideas off of. I don't care if it's like God or like she's saying positive self-talk, a best friend, a counselor, a therapist, a partner, like somebody that doesn't mind, you bouncing ideas off. It's really helpful to have someone to talk to. Um, it's a struggle for me, but I have my best friend, and if I'm just like having a moment, I can just like call her and always talk to God. I have to wait until at least like 3 p.m. before I call Paul and say, hey, like there's this, that, or whatever going on. And don't be afraid to put it out there because we don't want to read about something bad that happened to you. I just need someone to talk to because you'll see posts of people like, oh, my door is always open. Like, hold them to that crap. If you feel like you don't have a friend out there, put it out there. Put it on your messenger or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Say, I just need someone to vent to. I just need someone to listen. Don't
Yeah,
be don't go on just like bitch about crap or whatever in the or come to that breaking point. You don't have to do that. We have a huge circle of friends around the whole world, and if you will put it out there and say I really need someone to just vent to, somebody will respond. I guarantee you, if
yes.
I did it right now, I would at least have at least 10 people, not because I'm Miss Popular or I'm so great, but because people genuinely care. It may be a complete stranger. And sometimes, like, that's the best thing, and you can just sit there and have a conversation for a while. I've done it with you, Nancy. I'm like, can we
Yeah.
just talk for a minute? Because like I'm at this point, I didn't even plan on being here today, you guys. You know, I'm taking tomorrow off, stressed to the max. Had to put new tires on my car today. Moving Sunday, which discombobulates my brain. If I'm not organized, you know, I can't function. So you notice everything's off the walls. Like half of this room is packed. This computer is going to get shut down and packed up tomorrow. It's a massive undertaking for a person like me. Ordinary people, maybe not that big of a deal, you know. And the other really important thing is when crap goes wrong, I could sit here and bitch about the fact that I had to buy new tires. Or let's look at the positives of it. It happened while I was parking. Someone answered the phone right away to come and help me, and because my spare tire was flat and undo those lugs, which were way over torqued. It I made it to work on time on that spare tire and got to drop it off. I got to be able to purchase those new tires so it won't happen again. Someone, my client, was more than willing to pick me up and drive me to work. It was just a couple, a couple blocks away, but still, someone brought me back. Let's look at like that's 7 positive things in a really fucked up, excuse my mouth, $580 experience. Okay, one tire was free.
Yeah.
That's 8 things in a really messed up situation. So if you catch yourself like just pointing out the negativities, like Paul was saying, like this election could be the end of us. It could also be the beginning of you. It could be the beginning of something new. We have it's easy to just focus on those. When you get up to a molehill, it's like really big and turns into a mountain. And you like step back and just like mentally go through a gratitude list. I have a chair to sit in. I have friends to talk to. There are people interacting with us right now on this show. It's okay. Nobody cares about your environment or what you look like or the fact that you don't have makeup on or this. Nobody cares about that. I have friends right now. We're interacting. We have a group. We have a community, and we love each other. All different walks of life, all different nationalities. That in itself is priceless, and that is where our power is. So love one another.
Absolutely.
Support one another. Have your differences. Yeah. And just look at those positive things.
It's perspective. I mean, my both of my daughters, I used to say to them when they were teenagers, I've survived teenagers. Yes, this is why I look the way I do. But anyway, I used to say to them, because they get on a spin, and they get on a really bad negative spin. And no, it wasn't relative to the time of the month. It just got worse at the time of the month, but they just were in a negative spin, full stop. And I would say, guys, stop for a minute, okay? For every bad thing, stop and remind yourself of at least 2 or 3 good things. And it worked. And that's perspective. It's very easy to get caught up in a negative spiral. We all do it. It's kind of a human thing, I think, because the negative stuff is so obvious, whereas the good stuff maybe isn't. So you have to stop, breathe, think, oh yeah, what about that? Oh yeah, what about that? We have to stop discounting the good. And I think it's an automatic thing that we do. And I think it's something that advocates may struggle with worldwide, because we're dealing with so much bad and so much negative that we don't actually celebrate the good. And I think we need to do that. And part of that is communicating with each other. And part of that is sharing stuff with each other, because nobody's going to understand what the hell we do except somebody else who does the same thing. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, I think when we're angry and frustrated and depressed, instead of jumping on social media and taking it out on people who do think different than us, that's a really good time to take care of yourself and pause and not interact with those people and go find a good friend and just vent. Lindsay and I call each other. Sometimes we're on the phone for 2 to 4 hours, just blowing all that steam.
Yeah.
But it helps us. And then we're able to go back and do what we do the best we can.
Yep.
And when we're having positive interactions with those people that do think different than us, if we're calm and respectful because our head's in a good place, then we're able to have a conversation. Where if we go on social media and it's all bloom bucks and ants, and they're idiots, and they're in it for the money. And
Yeah.
I've met some really good people that really, really care, that at one time didn't support harm reduction,
Same.
and some of them now do. And it's because we take care of ourselves and keep our frustration private and put on a public face of reasonable, caring people with valid stories to share.
Yeah.
And when we do
Yeah.
that, we will get some people to listen to us. And then we have something to be grateful for.
Yes.
I mean, it's the other thing too. Is Skip is we plant the seed. If somebody doesn't actually automatically agree with us at that time, if you plant the seed, let it sit there. And so, I mean, there's quite a few people I can think of like you that were totally against this, and now are like, wow, okay. Especially, scientists and researchers and things like that. So it's all in the presentation. It's like Ivana was saying, attack the actions but not the person. But I also think,
Mhm.
Ivana, I keep want to call you Jackie. Jackie. Also, I think we need to remember something too. We have to be nice to each other, because another thing that I've noticed that really kind of pisses me off, is this battle that seems to be happening between different groups and different advocates in different countries. Sometimes it happens within countries. I'll give you an example. There was an issue with heated tobacco. Now, I know heated tobacco is not a really big thing in America or in Europe, but it's actually pretty big in Asia, especially North Asia, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Yeah, okay, it's a tobacco company product. I could argue that point with you till the cows come home, but the point is, it's harm reduction. So if it means giving people the option to have access to that, that's a good thing. I don't want to hear you
Mhm.
bitching at me because it's not vape, because vape doesn't work for everybody, and
It
snus
doesn't.
doesn't work for everybody. Okay, and in countries outside of the developed world, let's put it that way. Okay, they don't have access to these things. So for example, nicotine pouches. I can't do snus and I can't do nicotine pouches. It destroys my mouth. I've tried. I like Zyn
I tried
cinnamon, but
too.
it just destroys my mouth, right?
It
But
burned.
yeah, it burns, right?
I
Really
tried one when
bad.
I was in San Diego. I went down there for training, and he's like, "Here, like, try it." And so I asked, and I'm like, I wanted to try it because I thought this would be great for like airlines because, and I tried it in different places, and the sucker burned. But like some
Yeah,
people aren't that sensitive to it, and it wouldn't be that
yeah.
big of a deal.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
that's what Jen uses on the plane when we do long haul flights. So let me just finish the thought, and I'm going to give it to you, Skip. In Africa, okay, there is, Africa's an interesting place because you've got South Africa, they do their thing, and then the rest of Africa does their thing. And South Africa is mainly vape. But the rest of Africa, they don't have access and they don't have choices. And I mean, that's what we're all fighting for, right? So people have access and choice. So for them, something like a nicotine pouch would be perfect because it's cheap, easy to transport, easy to import, so on and so forth. And then you got these people saying, not in South Africa. I'm not blasting South Africa. I'm saying in America and other countries. Oh, that's not really harm reduction. Yeah, it is. And we have to respect each other's choices. Okay, because just because you do one thing one way doesn't mean that your way is the only way. Then we become just as bad as these tobacco controllers. Let's be honest. We can't emulate their bad behavior. Skip.
I agree 100%. I think the first thing people need to do is decide what they're about. Um, I'm a tobacco harm reduction advocate. I am not a vape advocate.
Okay.
Um, I tried all kinds of things to quit smoking, and those things didn't work for me. But I know people that those things did work for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I live in a small town. There are communities an hour away from me, and we're the closest vape shop, my community. Rural people don't have access to some things.
No.
Some people in some countries don't have even electricity. It doesn't matter if the whole world accepts these, because if you can't charge them, they're
That's a point.
worthless.
Mhm.
Um, so I get a lot of flack for this, but I support all kinds of products, and I really don't give a shit who makes them. I
Yep.
have an issue if one part of the harm reduction world lobbies for laws that hurt another part of the
Yes.
harm reduction world.
Yes.
But that's a separate issue. I don't agree with their strategy, but I don't have an issue with their products.
Right. Yeah, I got into it. I don't know if you guys remember from Scope. I kind of semi got into it with somebody when I brought up about Juul. I said Juul's a great product. The people who made it and promoted it suck, but the product itself is, if it, yeah, okay. And I got, almost got my ass handed to me, and I was just like, you know what? Hello. I am a THR advocate. Absolutely, I will advocate for anything to get people away from the thing that's going to kill them,
Mhm.
I haven't
and that's
had
it.
Jewel pods for about a month because they're too expensive and I can't afford them right now. So
Mm.
I'm using mostly things that are refillable because I like to make my own liquid.
Yeah,
And I don't like tobacco flavors and I can tolerate the menthol in the Jewel, but I like my coffee flavors, so I make my
yeah,
own. But um,
but
I would like to see certain things like disposable products. I have concerns more on an environmental
yeah,
level because we're
Same.
throwing all those batteries in the garbage. I would like to see if disposable products are going to stay on the market, that we have recycling programs. So someday we don't go on the Truth Initiative website, which likes to show pictures of thousands of cigarette butts
good
and three
enough. But
Jewel
it's so
pods
true.
laying on the beach, that someday you see a whole mess of dead batteries, laying
Absolutely,
in a ditch somewhere. So
absolutely.
I would like to see companies make an effort to start initiatives to be more environmentally responsible. But hey, if that mango puff bar is what works for you to quit smoking, more power to you. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with it.
And I think, that coming back to, self-care and that as well. I mean, I respect your choices. We learned this in school in American history, and it was a while ago, but something about I'll go to my death defending your right. I will go to death to defend your right to be able to access and choose what's best for you and not demonize you for it. And I think we as a community need to kind of get all on that same boat and say, okay, you do things your way, I do things my way. You're not hurting me, I'm not hurting you. Great, I'll support you. That's a big issue. And I know that I have gotten very upset at times with this whole single-mindedness of some people that, vape, 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 vape. It's like, no, it doesn't work for everybody, man. I can't go
It
there.
doesn't. It
You
might be
know,
those nicotine toothpicks. And if it bothers you about recycling, like a lot of shops, they have the container for you to bring your batteries to recycle it.
Yep. Yep.
Take your if that's where you go to buy your disposables and you're concerned about the environment, like we are, whatever, then put it on there. Batteries and disposable. Put the disposables in there.
Yeah.
Why can't we recycle those too? There's a solution for darn near everything. You got to go somewhere to buy it. Put out a recycling bin,
Yeah. If you're
so we
gonna
can do the
sell it,
best
you
that we
should.
can.
If you're gonna sell it, you should recycle it.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, just go ahead. Skip. I
I
was
was
gonna say
going to
Jeff
say
brought something up.
there's only X number of hours in a day. So if you're going to do a good job of taking care of yourself, choose your battles wisely.
Yes, absolutely.
And the time you spend being angry with a fellow advocate because you don't agree with the products they use is not good for your mental health and is a
Mm-mm.
waste of your valuable time. Choose those battles wisely.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes lose the battles to win the war. I'm always saying I've been saying that for like 30 years. Lose the battles to win the war.
You're
You
absolutely
can't win
correct.
them all. You
Put
can't win them
yourself
all.
in that person's shoes. Like, they're going off the information that has been supplied to them. Okay? They're
Yep.
going off that information that has been supplied to them, and they're being paid or whatever to do a job, or they saw something that harmed and they had a misunderstanding. Even the parents, those parents that, did all these crazy things. Okay?
Hmm.
Put yourself in their shoes. They think they're protecting their young people, their teenagers, their children. That's what they believe. And as a parent, if you believe this information and
Hmm.
someone told you the world is flat and their kids could possibly fall off the edge, stay away from the edge of the world,
Yeah.
okay? And you know it's not true. And you know the darn world is darn round and this and that. But you don't have to get angry at them for it. It is a waste of energy.
Yeah.
Just understand if you want to get and have a conversation with that parent, get in their shoes. I understand that you're trying to protect your children. This makes sense, but I'm going to give you some real information. This is what really happened with
Mm-hmm.
that supposed, popcorn lung and Ivali, and this
Yeah.
is what really happened. And if I was in your shoes, commiserate with them. I would have done the same thing. And you were fed some misinformation. I just want you to realize that we can work together because we're trying to empower adults for tobacco harm reduction. We're trying to empower the adults that really want to quit smoking, that were like me, that smoked for 34 years. And I can quit with patches, people. It takes me a box to 2 boxes. But guess what? I can't stay quit with patches.
Yeah.
When I get
Yeah.
stressed,
It,
I can't do that. That vaping works for me, but I'm into whatever works for you guys. Whatever
yeah. I
works
mean,
for any adult in any part of the world, I'm all for it.
two things. Two things. Perspective. And along with perspective is Paul saying the world is like a great big Rubik's Cube made up of many facets.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, I want to bring something else up that Jeff mentioned about the COVID vaccine that the WHO refuses to acknowledge because of the PMI investment in it. Now, this is something, and I mean, it's not actually self-care, but it's something to keep in mind is once you understand, think about that for a minute. Once you understand that the people who are mandated to be worried about our health are more worried about kicking sand in the playground than actually health, that will help you maintain your perspective a little bit to know that, okay, wait a minute, I'm doing their job in a way, okay, and we're holding them to account for not doing their job. These are the people we're dealing with. This is the level of, I don't know, I want to say if it's intelligence, compassion, empathy. This is the level of the people that we're dealing with. And this is why we all have to not go down that route and maintain that empathy and compassion for ourselves and with each other.
It's really interesting to ask the people what their goal is. Is their goal to end smoking or to destroy the tobacco industry? Because those
Yeah.
aren't necessarily the same goal.
No.
In the United States, our laws say that companies that are publicly traded have to do what they can do to make a profit. So literally the law tells them profits before people. So if we don't like them doing this thing and they have to make a profit, it makes sense to get them to do something else, be it using tobacco plants to make vaccines, which aren't the
Yep.
same tobacco plants that we get our nicotine from,
Nope.
or to make harm reduction products or to explore other markets. And again, choose your battles wisely, because even several harm reduction advocates want to fight the tobacco companies.
No.
And again, the tobacco companies have the money and the power to lobby and influence whatever they want. We're never going to go toe to toe with them. So fight for what's important so that you have enough hours in the day to go sit back and relax and
Yeah.
listen to
Have a
some
life.
good rock and roll and have a life. Yes.
Have a life. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. Have a life. No, it's just, I think it all.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because listen to a TED Talk is one of my favorite things, and it's
I
on
love TED
my
Talk.
daily list
I have
of
TED
self-care
Talks.
list.
Yeah, when I pick up my tablet at night, it's like Netflix TED Talk. Is there a good TED Talk out there? Yeah, I'll go to Netflix, but I usually go for the TED Talk. Because I'm a nerd. But you're right about the tobacco companies. I for the longest time, I was so anti-tobacco and anti-pharma, and I do still maintain a certain amount of distrust, maybe, simply because of what my mother went through. But by the same token, I also see them, attempting to change their ways. And of course, being it's corporate and nothing, any corporation, any big organization, it takes forever for anything to change. And if it's a for-profit corporation, their ultimate answer has to be to their stakeholders. So I don't have a problem with them getting involved in harm reduction. What I have a problem with is the companies that are getting involved in harm reduction to destroy the independent industry. That I have a problem with.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
And also remember, just because the tobacco industry did really evil things 30, 40, 50 years ago, those people no longer work at those
Yeah.
tobacco companies.
No, they don't.
And when it comes to people dealing with the science and product development for harm reduction products made by the
Yeah.
tobacco industry, there are some really good, honest, caring, respectable people working in that industry. And they work there because they believe in harm reduction and they want to see people stop dying from smoking. So
Yeah.
they are where they can influence the process. And for any of us to go online and attack those people is hurting the cause overall.
Yeah. I mean, we're becoming just as bad as the people who are attacking us. We don't want to do that. We don't want to go there. High road, right? Let's see here. What do we got? Oh, Ivana's leaving us. Ciao, Ivana.
Yep.
Mowgli's here. Let's see. Yeah, Jeff, I know, but the WHO, I mean, that's a discussion for another day, but the WHO needs to be completely ripped down and restarted again because they've completely lost their way. And it's not just tobacco harm reduction. We see it with the way they handled COVID. We saw it with the way they handled Ebola. It's become a corporate. That's a weird way of putting it, but it has. It's become a corporate, and it has its own goals, and those goals completely disavow their mandate.
They're
And I'm
viable.
surprised they.
Yes. And
They can
again,
be bought.
there's good people at the WHO.
Yep, there are. There are.
So we can't
Um,
waste our energy on hating all of them.
yeah,
We can
there's
dislike what they do.
right. Hate
Um,
the action, but hate the sinner. Hate the sin, but not the sinner, kind of thing.
That's the truth. That's exactly my mentality.
Yeah,
You can tell me I did something stupid. Don't call me stupid. You can call, judge
you
my
did something
action.
stupid.
I do
Yeah.
lots of stupid shit. But,
So,
like, judge the action and not the person. It makes it really, really easy because that's still a person. And they need to learn and they need to, like, be educated and then
and
form a new decision or whatever so they can make a better choice next time. And
it's
we
kind of
all have to learn.
it's kind of our job to approach it with the empathy to say, listen, I acknowledge what you're saying, and we can agree to disagree. Let's talk about why, and then we can
Mhm.
give them the information. It comes back to meeting people where they are. A lot of people who are in these big organizations, and even research institutions, and I've spoken about this before, they're kind of trapped in a way because
Mhm.
of the environment that they're in. And
Exactly.
if they speak out, all hell's going to rain down on them. And you don't want to put somebody in that position either because you wouldn't want somebody doing it to you. So you got to treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's pretty much what it all boils down to. And it's not just them, it's us.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to lose their job. They're going to, we talked about the loss of credibility during scope,
Yeah.
and how all those things change and they have to like stand for whatever their thing is until they make a drastic choice to do something different. And Paul and I discussed this another time before. Big tobacco is big tobacco, but big tobacco is going to change with us. They're not just going to disappear and bow out and say, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
you're right. They're going to have to evolve too. So sooner or later, and hopefully sooner than later, we're going to have to help them help us.
Well,
You
that's it.
know,
I mean, and that's the thing. And
don't monopolize,
right.
but
But,
help us.
you
Help
know,
you, help us.
I remember a meeting I had with the Ministry of Health here in New Zealand, and they were asking me all these questions. You talk to this person, you talk to that person. I said, you know what? Here's the thing. That person I don't talk to. Yeah, I do talk to this person. But here's my thing. My goal, like Skip was saying before, is, tobacco harm reduction is helping people get away from the thing that's going to kill them. If that means I have to talk to all these other people, then I'm going to talk to all these other people because they are also part. The people who are part of the problem are also part of the solution.
They are. And they
Okay.
got the
And
money and the power to do it.
if we're going to make progress, we have to break out of our bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are active on social media, go look at who follows you.
Yeah.
If everybody that follows you is only vaping people and you're doing like I used to do a couple years ago, where honest to God, I was an internet troll. I would find these people saying anti vaping stuff and I'd let them have it. And I'd
Yeah.
let them know how much I didn't like them and how much I didn't agree with them. And here's the science. And why are you lying? Is it all about the money? Blah, 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 blah. Since I changed my strategy, one, by being kind and decent, when I get up in the morning and look in the mirror, now I like the person that's looking back.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago, when I thought it was a badge of honor to have somebody block me, I really didn't like that person looking at me in the mirror. So, by going about this a different way, I'm also doing a better job of taking care of myself because I like who I am.
Yeah.
But when I go look at who follows me now that I behave like a decent human being and practice kindness and respect first, I have people with fancy letters after their name
Yeah.
following me, liking my tweets, commenting, interacting, having
Yeah.
private chats. And even if we don't agree on certain things, several of those people do believe that these products are helping people quit smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Their concern might be unbalanced, heavier on the whole youth thing, but they're getting it. And they're getting it because some people are
Yeah.
practicing being decent humans. And I highly recommend it to everybody because now if I get blocked, I'm actually sad because that's a lost opportunity to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And I like liking what I'm doing and liking who I'm being. And it's way better for my mental health than being a jerk.
Well
Yeah.
said, Skip. Very well
Perfectly
said.
said. I
That
mean
is
that.
that's the example that I
That's
wish
it.
everybody could
And
gather, and we'd
that's the
get
whole
so
point.
much further.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a conversation. This is completely random, and I'm just going to throw it out there. I remember I got into it with my then mother-in-law, who's now my ex-mother-in-law. God, thank God. But anyway, and I said to her, me telling it like it is, and I said to her, I said, it doesn't matter what you think. I have to like the person in the mirror. This was must have been like 12 years ago. I said, I have to wake up in the morning, look at the person in the mirror, and like that person. And you know what I do? If you don't like that person, that's your problem.
Yep.
That didn't go over well, I'm sure you can imagine. But her loss. And when people, I've got the same thing. I've got people following me that, they're not in the echo chamber. They're outside of the echo chamber. And I think that's what in this lead up, to the COP 10 and kind of the whole point of this entire series of seminars that we're doing is to get ourselves out of the echo chamber, but for the right reasons. We have to get out for the right reasons, because we're the experts, we're the evidence, like Clive says, and in order to do that, we have to know and adjust our messaging and the way we present our messages so that they are well received outside of the echo chamber. But we've got to take care of each other. I'm seeing far too much aggro between people, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
You need to stop looking at others as enemies and see them as potential allies. You're in a
Yep.
different country, but you want to sign an agreement. So it doesn't mean you have to believe the same thing or follow the same laws, but look at them as potential allies. I don't care how bad it's been in the past. They're
Mm-hmm.
not the enemy. They're potential allies. So how do you treat them? You send an ambassador, and that's what you can become. And everybody counts. Every letter, every phone call, every quiz,
Tweet.
every tweet. You are an ambassador. I mean, and start, if you have to tell yourself that I am an ambassador, like, is what I'm going to say going to get anywhere, or is it just going to get me shut down? And like, I'm just cement in cement shoes, like they are. If
Yeah.
you want to, if their mindset is aggravating you, it's probably because yours is the same. You're just on a
Yeah.
different side, and just because it's the right side doesn't make it okay to behave that way. You know,
No, because they
be an
think they're on the
ambassador.
right side.
Yeah, they do. They believe that because that's what they believe, or maybe they're getting paid, or maybe their job is under threat, or their kids' lives were threatened, whatever. Just be an ambassador in what you say. Question something before you write it. I've had to pull off Twitter for a while because I caught myself doing the same thing, Skip. Where I was, attacking an individual because I used to say undue Bloomberg brainwashing. It was all that sounds really cool and all that, but you know what? How was I going to be able to ever have a conversation with this man in the future if necessary, or I had that opportunity if I have
Yeah.
become an enemy instead of a
Yeah.
different a
And
different potential ally?
it does sound good to us.
Yeah.
But if you have media, lawmakers, parents,
Hmm.
scientists
Mm-hmm.
reading what you write, keep it professional.
Yep.
Right. And that's what I need to do from now on. So
Yeah. And you have
I'm
been.
going to
You're doing
change
all
my
right.
image.
We are going to actually
Excuse me.
cover. I'm sorry. It's fine.
That popped
Sorry.
out.
We are going to actually cover communication in the next couple of segments. I think the next segment is going to be global advocacy and working together on a global scale because some things don't translate well across countries. So we're going to talk about that on the 9th and then of April. And then on the 23rd of April, we start with communication. So there's communication one and communication two. One is knowing your audience, which kind of ties into what we're talking about here. And then on the 23rd, how to get your message across, which also ties into what we're doing here. So we're on a really good track. Um, Anybody out there in the ethers have a question or something they want to bring up? Because we're going to have to end this at exactly 60 minutes.
It's an hour past my bedtime.
Yes, sorry. Sorry,
That's
Steph.
okay. This was well worth it.
Um, People aren't receptive when they're being torn down. Yes, Janine, it's like a toddler. If a toddler's sitting there pitching a tantrum, you're not going to listen to them, right? But if a toddler comes up to, well, not that toddlers can do this, but you know what I'm saying. If somebody comes up to you and says, "Listen, we have a problem," and you sit down and talk about it like adults, that's one thing. If somebody comes up to you and they're in your face, you're just like,
And I think it's important to understand human nature. Um, I've been watching some TED Talks and reading some really good things about changing minds. And that's a very challenging thing to do. And you're right, Nancy, when you referred to planting seeds, because most people will not change their mind at the exact same time that you're talking to them.
yeah,
That thought has to grow. And you get into this whole tribalism thing, and you're
mm-hmm,
gonna, even if you think that somebody else might be right, if they're not in your tribe, you're going to stick with that groupthink thing. So, as we find like scientists who are sort of supportive of harm reduction, but not to the level we'd like, or they still talk about youth use, instead of attacking them, I think we need to support them and let that seed grow a little bit bigger, because when they change their mind, they're going to have a better chance of changing the minds of people in their circle than we
mm-hmm,
do.
yep,
So, like I think about that paper from the SRNT 15. I didn't agree with all their recommendations, but
yep,
I did agree with the gist of their paper, and I liked the direction it put people's attention to, that we need balance. And I think when we're advocating, we also need to think about balance. And
yes,
we might have to give a little to get the most of what we want.
compromise.
Oh, that's such a tough word.
I know it is. I know it is. Ladies, thank you for joining us. Team outside there, Thank you out there in the interwebs for joining us. We'll be doing this again on the 9th of April. Ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. This was enjoyable.
It was fun.
We'll be doing it again. Okay, guys.
See
Night,
everybody in a
everybody.
couple weeks. Night.